Thank you for joining me for another Quick Hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn, aka Mental MacGyver. I provide luxury level high performance support and coaching to executives, founders, celebrities, and athletes. With me today, I have Kevin Wash. He's a coach, mentor, author, trainer, and speaker running consultancy business specializing in sales for international property development. I have Alexi Bracey. She's on mission happiness, promoting happiness for no reason, bouncing back after cancer, and a dementia prevention specialist. I have Danniel Gramkee. He is a photographic artist with a background in performance and coaching who will capture you at your competitive best. The question I have today, why does having someone feel pity for you feel so awful? Dan, what do you think?
Well, so first, I know that you're Mental MacGyver, but I'm just wondering, when you came up with this particular topic, were you binging another 80s show like The A-Team? Are you getting me? Okay. So, yeah, pity, it's a very interesting topic. It becomes, the response is kind of very visceral, because if someone's, it's one, if you're pitying yourself, I mean, that's one thing. But then if your pity extends into other people recognizing it, I mean, that just takes it to kind of a different level, and it's kind of a downer. But one of the responses, though, to it is to maybe just become a little more introspective and be like, well, why is this pity so resonant that other people are picking up on it? And then you can go with the different choices. Is, well, do I try to pick myself up and remediate this and get out of this pity? What do I actually do with it? I mean, that's my first response.
Alexi, what do you think? Why does it feel so awful?
Well, for a number of reasons. One of them, too, is people, though meaning well, very often will give you unsolicited information, unsolicited advice, which makes you feel even worse. Really downgrading and degrading you, like you're just obviously nothing positive. And so then you just feel even worse, and you just sort of want to cower and hide. And maybe for whatever reason, even if 2% pity is justified for you in whatever that circumstance. And people that are onlooking, they don't know the whole story. They don't see the whole picture. They only see through their lenses.
I think sometimes people mix pity up with sympathy. And for me, sympathy is somewhere where you have a sincere concern for somebody. Whereas my take on pity is it's kind of condescending and contemptuous and almost aggressive. So in answer to the question, why does it feel horrible if somebody feels pity? Because it's almost like somebody's attacking me if somebody is pitying me. If I'm full of self-pity, well, that's down to me to deal with that. But if somebody's pitying me, I get the distinct feeling I'm being patronized by them. And I had to kind of think, when was the last time I can relate to somebody pitying me in my life? And I think I've actually come across it several times. My career has basically been in sales. And I can recall people saying to me, I pity you for having to sell things to make a living, which really makes me smile when I know I probably made 10 times more money than they did and was 10 times more successful. But it was just like this kind of throwaway line. And I can't find anything nice in the word pity.
I agree with that. Go ahead, Dan. I see you thinking.
I didn't think of it as something that would put you on the defense. Kevin, you're seeing it as an attack. It's an interesting perspective that you have, and it makes me think of it in a different way, because there's a judgment there.
Pity comes with this, oh, you poor thing. I'm so much better than you. Let me see if I can make it better.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
I hate that. If I come to you for help, it's because I trust you as a peer. And if you want to put me in that one down position, I just want to smack you and be like, go away. I don't need your help after all. Never mind.
So I also find people will give you pity. You're not even asking for it. If you're asking somebody for help, then that's a different thing. I think that there's a joking way you can use it in sports, when you can say, I'll pity you, you're playing that guy next, because you're probably going to go and get your backside kicked. Yeah, that's kind of funny. But apart from that, I think the only times it seems to come up in life, maybe it means something different over here, but it just seems to be somebody wants to really put you down, and they want to highlight that I am so much better than you. I pity you for your miserable, non-existent life, that maybe one day you can be as clever as I am, type of thing.
That's interesting, because what is the source of the pity? Was it solicited, unsolicited?
And Alexi, what do you think?
Yeah, it was an ego-based too. Like it was illustrated, I'm better than you, I know better than you, let me tell you, let me show you what you should do. But when we pity somebody, it's sort of a spontaneous remark, as opposed to think about being in that person's shoes. Would you like to get that kind of feedback that you're going to give that person?
Yeah, I mean, Alexi, the way you framed it, I think that's how I'm inclined to have reacted to pitying people, is that generally if I pity someone, it's sort of like I hear whatever I hear of their story, and I sort of put myself in their position, and then I feel, I guess maybe I'm not pitying so much as being empathetic, but
I was going to say that's empathizing, isn't it? That's not pitying.
Yeah.
That's another way to look at the question, really. What's your take on pity? I mean, I personally would never pity anybody because I just think it's such a negative thing.
Well,
and it's
so
almost
well,
an aggressive thing.
Well, so
I'm quite happy to share my wisdom.
that begs the question then, if someone does pity you, how do you respond?
It's generally a short conversation with me. And generally, those people aren't in my life again. So I don't give people a second opportunity to be condescending or patronizing to me. So do I want people like that in my life? Oh, not in the slightest.
Yeah, it depends on the source, right? Is this a trusted individual? Is this a competitor who is just looking for that opportunity to cut you down? That will drive how you respond to it.
Would a trusted individual be a person who would pity you, and how would you respond then?
If it was a friend of mine, my immediate reaction would be, this is obviously a joke. What's the story behind the joke? Because we don't speak to each other that way. So yeah, I wouldn't expect it from a trusted person. I'd be rather disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would be more empathetic, probably.
Agreed. Alexi, if someone pitied you, how would you respond?
I guess it would depend on how severe the pity situation was. And more likely than not, I would just say, thank you for the feedback and just drop it. I wouldn't carry on the conversation anymore. I wouldn't want to get into a discussion. Just leave it at that. I don't want to get into, well, I didn't mean it that way. And well, you shouldn't have said it that. I don't want to get into a discussion. So almost it's like case is closed.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's not, whatever the motivation is, I mean, I don't know, can you shake it up that easily?
Inside, I'd still probably be hurting a lot from my situation, plus the fact that this person, what they said to me. So like, that's a double whammy. But I really have a hard time with unsolicited advice because it's not anybody's business. And we do it just automatically out of habit without thinking. It's my life, not your life. You're seeing it through your lens. I'm seeing it through my lens.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I wonder as well, can some people recognize it as pity? We had a conversation last week about empathy. And I said, there's nothing worse than fake empathy. So if somebody is pitying you, can you recognize that, or can you mistake it for some form of confused sincerity?
I feel like pity has a
quality.
pit in your stomach. They've driven a nail into a sore spot. Like, I don't want your pity. Like, just get out of my space with that. And I also can't imagine feeling pity. Like, I think you've said it, Kevin. I'm thinking about, would I pity someone? No, I'd be like, let me get in here, roll up my sleeves and help you.
Yeah.
Yes. But pity, I don't think I would feel that way towards someone.
I think when you look at the moment, I'm watching Wimbledon at the moment, and after every game, they have this encore interview with the person that happens to win. And I'm wondering if they interviewed the person that lost and said, I feel so much pity for you. You've just lost 6-love, 6-love, 6-love.
Oh.
What sort of response would they? That's not really a nice thing to say. You can empathize with someone that's just lost something, but you say, yeah, I pity you. I don't think this, as I said earlier, I can't find an attractive quality in the word or in my understanding of the word.
Mm-hmm. Dan, is pity something you think you would feel? And in what circumstance?
For someone else? In talking about, excuse me, what the discussion we're having right now, I guess I'm equating pity more as an empathetic emotion, and maybe that's just how I'm wired. I mean, if I hold my life up or whatever, or what I have, or whatever I have in contrast to someone who has less, I mean, I could say I pity them, but for me, it comes more from a source of empathy and not the attacks that the others of us here in this conversation are kind of inclined to think that it comes from.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about self-pity, which is a wallowing, and that's a whole separate thing. Is if you're in that self-pity space, you got to dig yourself out of it. So that is our 10 minutes. I'm going to cut this conversation on pity off. I pity the day, but Thank you so much for having this conversation with me, and I look forward to speaking to each of you again very soon.